Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big butch manly pop culture podcast that loves to do things the continental way. I'm Shane Hollon.
I'm Andrew Wheeler.
Today we're talking about Reflection in a Dead Diamond. It's a 2025 action thriller written and directed by Hélène Catet and Bruno Forzani. The film stars Fabio Testi, Yannick Renier, Cohen Dabao, Maria de Medeiros, T. Nguyen, and Céline Camaha. This film draws its inspiration from 60s Eurospy films like Danger Diabolic, as well as the early Bond canon and Italian pulp comics and giallo movies. In it, John Dimon, Fabio Testi, a retired spy in his 70s residing in a luxurious hotel on the French Riviera, is fascinated by his new neighbor who kindles memories of the Riviera's vibrant days in the 60s. When his neighbor vanishes, John is forced to confront his past demons. Sure, I guess that's what this film is about.
We will be giving some spoilers in this discussion, but I think we'll try not to give away the ending, even if we really understood the ending
How
and
could
the
you?
fates of all the characters. It's very esoteric, this film. In tribute, I have decided to come as a mess, and that feels very apropos.
And I am wearing my largest diamond. So, Andrew, what were your initial reactions to this piece?
I initially saw the trailer some months ago when it hadn't been released to home streaming yet, and thought, oh, we should watch this together. Whether or not we do an episode is by the by. It is so, like, the trailer shows you just how strongly Bond influenced this movie is, and also how influenced by a lot of other movies that we've watched and enjoyed, mostly from the 60s and 70s. So yeah, the trailer made me fall in love already, and it was just a question of whether or not the movie would break the spell. But honestly, this was so much fun to watch, even if it made very little sense, was very deliberately and consciously confusing and completely non-linear. The timelines are pretzels in this, but it's so fabulous to watch. It's so fabulous to just experience all the visual trickery of this movie. And it probably helps to know the references.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, what a beautiful, brilliant, and unexpected film, capital F. I didn't understand it at all, but I loved every second of the experience. And I guess I did understand it. And like you said, knowing those references really goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed every nod to all of those films that we love. There's a lot of Goldfinger in there. I saw some Modesty Blaise in there,
Oh,
Danger
yes.
Diabolic, as mentioned, as well as entire scenes done in the style of a Maurice Binder visual. It's very sumptuous and obtuse and multifaceted, like a diamond. I just thought it was so stunning in every way. Like I felt stunned watching this film.
Yeah, the other references I would call out right up top: The Prisoner, the British TV show about retired spies, and Grant Morrison's work in general, but especially The Invisibles, some of their earlier, more esoteric work. Also, Death in Venice, which the directors did actually directly cite, but like some of the composition of, like, especially the old Joe sequences, the way that he's perving on young people at the beach, it is the Death in Venice tribute.
I mean, God, this film had casinos. It had Mediterranean vistas, fast cars, disguises on disguises on disguises, women kicking ass, gory deaths. It really had it all.
Very violent film, it should be said, and shockingly so in places, even if the blood never
Hmm.
feels real. But like, there are scenes of people tearing skin off faces. Spoiler, turns out to be latex in most cases. But just, it's so visceral, it's so uncomfortable. I think there were scenes where we both were like shouting out, "Oh God!"
Yeah, I shouted that a lot during this film. Oh God, no! There's this one scene, and it remains to be seen if it was reality or not. where young young John is like running his finger under a laceration he's made on someone's face to get information from them. And I just felt my skin crawling off my body. It was so visceral and gross and really cool.
I should also say, as a comic writer, as someone who loves to see comics influence in movies, Italian fumetti, the pulp comics that we mentioned up front, this owes such a debt to fumetti to the extent that they are in the movie. Like it's not hiding that debt. It's saying like this is a fumetti brought to life, and a lot of the cuts and a lot of the transitions are very good at emulating what comics do, which is something a lot of directors have tried, from Ang Lee on down. And I would say this is one of the most successful ones to do it.
Yeah, it felt like watching a pulp comic book or reading like a pulp thriller in a lot of ways as well. The way that there's very little dialogue and more like set pieces. You can almost see the word bubbles popping
Yeah.
out of the screen to give you just like a heightened sense of place instead of anything to do with plot whatsoever.
I should also note, just maybe to transition into our first segment here, it takes all of 5 minutes maybe to get to the first woman's nipple. So you know you're watching European cinema. You know that's
Absolutely.
the hallmark of European cinema.
And we get entire sequences where it is just naked women like running
Yeah,
around the screen, chopping off heads. I mean,
which
my
which
God.
is not for us exactly, but we're never bored watching this film. You know.
No, no. I mean, God, who doesn't? The women's bodies are wonderful. We can
Yes.
all agree on that.
We
Really
agree. We agree. It just doesn't
works of art.
titillate me.
Yes, exactly.
It's like my feelings about cars. Like, oh, it's beautiful, but I don't want to get inside one. You know?
Well, that's where we differ, you and I. Let's talk about the women a bit more specifically. In
Yes.
this film, women are interchangeable and unknowable to men, and that's a powerful stance to take. Men being pigs is the most solid ground covered in here, and women fighting back is the answer to that. And I
Yeah.
effing love.
This is absolutely a film about women and women's place in exploitation cinema, but also in the culture at large. It's a film about men's paranoia about women, especially. Like there are scenes of John interrogating women and saying, I know you know who she is. I know that you're involved, and just torturing women. And it's not clear that they do have any relationship to the big villain that he's searching for, who is also a woman and a woman of many
Mm,
faces. And in fact,
mm,
I think the point is that there is no connection. He just thinks every woman he meets is a version of Serpentic or is related to Serpentic. And it's psychosis. It's very male. And
mm.
also, it's a movie that taps into men's fear of women in the same way that Bond movies and other movies do, but actually does follow through on having a female arch villain so that the women are actually fearsome.
Yeah, yeah. This film felt like a takedown of 60s and 70s Bond films in
Yeah.
so many ways, but in such a healthy way.
Yes.
I really, I just love, like you said, that the main villain, the arch villain, is a woman, and she is every woman coming for the
Shaka
man
Khan.
who
Shaka
would
Khan.
have her hand, that she is coming for the man who is the cause of so many women's death and destruction. Just snaps, snaps to that. It's such a cool, powerful role.
It does also mean, though, that we get some extraordinary violence against men, but we do get some extraordinary violence against women by
Mhm.
men. Both the hero and the villain are brutal in their treatment of women. So that's something I would flag for anyone that wants to watch this film.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit more specifically, uh, I mean, Serpentick is brilliant in all of her forms. I love her transition from butch to ninja to sex kitten.
Yeah,
And like I said, the naked fighting scene is really powerful stuff and is such a showcase of like these individual pieces that make up the whole of
Yeah.
who she is.
Yeah, there are two. So Serpentic, we should explain, is played by multiple women. There is an extent to which she is a woman wearing a latex disguise that she can tear off. But it also seems like maybe that isn't what she does. Maybe she actually transforms. Maybe she's multiple women. It's like it's left deliberately a little oblique. The thing to know is that she is a chimera. She is a shapeshifter. And there are two women in particular that stand out to me in the whole of Serpentic that I want to give big ups to. Nguyen as the classic ninja fatale, so
Mhm.
good, gets to do some of the best fight scenes in the movie and wield some of the deadliest weapons. The scene in the roadside bar is extraordinarily violent, and I'm not even sure why that scene happens, but she's so good in that scene. And it's a very even handed fight, honestly. Like, she's not, like, she can take out a dozen men, but she will also take some blows along the way. And the other
Yeah.
Serpentic I want to call out is Sylvia Camada, who is the more masculine and outwardly
Mm.
threatening face of Serpentic, which means she's the most emasculating face of Serpentic, and she's got such a good face for the role. Like, she shocked me, honestly, when she first appeared on screen, because she's not a femme fatale beauty.
Oh,
She's
she's got
is
that
a
square cut jaw.
yeah, yeah. She's a choreographer and a dancer in real life, or was perhaps. So yeah, she's a beautiful, graceful woman, but she does have a very strong face.
I also love the opera singer who
Yeah.
has a name both in character and in real life, but which I cannot remember.
Kezia Quintal, and the character is called Cantatrice, which means singer. But
Of course. She's so enchanting and she serves some incredible looks. And
yes,
she is not the only Black woman in this film. And I believe she gets a scene with another Black woman, which, I mean, coming off of Sinners, which we talked about recently, shouldn't feel as exciting as it is. But in this kind of spy movie, it absolutely is almost unheard of.
one of the Serpentics is a black woman, but she also disguises herself as the Cantatrice.
Hmm.
One point. The third black woman in all of this we should give some special attention to, Celine Camara, as she's called Papillon in the dialogue, she's called Moth in the subtitles, which I don't think is an exact translation. I thought Papillon meant butterfly,
Fly.
but she is a standout performer in this. And she
Mm.
has the best, maybe one of the best gadgets I've ever seen in any spy movie ever.
Incredible. The way that that gadget takes out an entire room. It's the funniest, most exciting use of a gadget I have ever seen. I was in love. And on top, she's sexy, she's mysterious, she's cool. She might be the best dressed in the film. And she also gets like, I mean, there's this hilarious recurring scene where John is getting coded messages from her and he
Yes.
holds up a piece of her dress to the sky and it reveals the hidden message. And she the way that she delivers the message is so very she's kind of like an or a cue, very matter of fact, but it's so absurd. It's so hard. This whole movie is hard to describe, but those scenes really made me laugh hard.
Stick with us for the fashion segment where we will talk a little more about that gadget
Mhm.
in all its beautiful, beautiful ways. I think the last woman that stands out to me from the cast is Maria de Medeiros, who plays Laura, the next door neighbor, who is
Mhm.
just manages to hit that note between benign and sinister really well.
Yes. Let's talk about the boys, of which I've got to say, for a movie filled with men, there aren't a lot of boys.
No, no, that it's not the sexiest movie in terms of the men, and also there just aren't. I feel like there are more prominent women than prominent men in this movie. If you allow for the fact that two of the main characters are the same person, but yeah, we do have some hotties in the form of Yannick Renier as the middle-aged John, like he's the young John, but he's only young in relation to Fabio Testi as the older John. They're both very handsome men. They both, in their prime, were gorgeous matinee idol types. Fabio Testi was in a bunch of spaghetti westerns in his youth, and now he's like that classically handsome but weathered older European man who wears a white suit and a white hat, and it's like, okay, he's going to sell me some Dos Equis or something.
You took the words right out of my mouth. He is absolutely the Dos Equis guy. He's quite a lech in the film, but he's quite
Yes,
handsome.
he's handsome, he's stylish. There is a moment where he has to disguise his suit, which had me absolutely howling. I should save that for fashion. But Yannick Renier,
Brilliant.
very dashing, but playing such a piece of shit that I really struggled with it. Like I couldn't fall in love with this man. Like he first appears in like little black swim shorts,
Which I
looking very
love.
rugged, very handsome, and then he instantly is a misogynistic, abusive prick. Feels very familiar, but
Mhm.
yeah, he was hard to like for me.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster. All through my notes, I call him Young John, but he is 50 years old. He's
Right?
older than you or I. Uh, you couldn't tell. He
No.
feels, or maybe as I get older, people start looking younger. And God, I'm getting so old. But he really has a youthful quality about him. He's very
Yeah.
lithe, very in shape, and he has like this dimpled smirk. He never really smiles in this film,
No.
but he just has a gorgeous face, like the face of a model. And yeah, if he weren't such an absolute evil character, he would be the highlight of this film for me.
Cohen DeBow also as Marcus Strand, the secondary villain, who was presented as the
Mhm.
primary villain, also a huge piece of shit. So I can't vouch for him either. The one that I will vouch for is New John, who is
Mhm.
presented as the recasting of the role. Aurelian Muller, who is a model and looks like a model and has cheekbones and smolder to spare. He's very Lazenby coded, the younger
Very lazy.
model who comes in to replace the middle-aged man. And he's a beautiful man. Very, very beautiful man.
Yes, agreed. I do love that he's also like nothing. There's nothing
Yeah,
going on there. His
nothing.
entire role is to turn to the camera and wink, and that is just so perfect when you consider the history of Lazenby being cast as Bond. Like no one expected this man to be anything other than a younger, prettier vacuum of a soul kind of imitation of what Sean Connery was, which we literally just discussed last week, is not how we feel about the character.
You can go back and watch our On Her Majesty's Secret Service episode to find out all our many thoughts about that movie. We have a lot.
A lot. Yeah, besides that, I mean, there's one cute guy in the restaurant bar fight
Right.
who sadly gets his dick ripped off. Uh, I mean, really less into that, I gotta say.
I think he's probably dead by the end of it, so he
I
didn't have to
hope.
live with that for very long. I think you bleed out pretty quickly from having your dick ripped off, so, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of a sensitive area. I don't know if you know this. Let's pivot into something much more beautiful, the music.
What a soundtrack. I think David Holmes would be seething with jealousy at this soundtrack. It's very a bit Tarantino-esque, but actually no, it's earlier and it's more European, which he doesn't do a lot of in his pop. Um, and very Ennio Morricone, who literally has at least one track in the soundtrack.
Yes, definitely.
But I thought watching this movie that it had a lot of original pieces in it. I thought there was a score that had been written for this film that I kept hearing picked up, and a lot of the tracks that I thought were the score were 70s instrumentals and lightly lyricked numbers, pop songs from other movies of the era. So it's like a
Mhm.
guided tour of Euro spy and Euro horror and Euro romance. Like those are the three big categories that it picks its song from that sort of tells you a lot about what this movie is shaped by. Yeah. Fabulous. I was re listening to the soundtrack today and I will be
Me
doing
too.
so many more times.
Yeah, there's some really wonderful pieces. I love 24,000 Baci by Adriano Celentano. The girl
Mhm.
from Selena
Yes,
from Christoph, very
that's so
moody,
good.
very sexy.
Swoony.
Ixio Frizzi Tempera by Nuclei Antrepina, which was every spy theme condensed into one.
I thought it was Nuclear Antirapina by Bixia Fritzi and Tempera. So I don't know
Well, maybe that makes sense.
which one's the artist, which one's the title. Who can tell?
It's just
It's
like the film.
very, very, very reminiscent of Henry Mancini's Peter Gunn theme, with
Yes.
even more emphasis on the urgent bass line. Nucleo antirapina means anti-robbery unit. So this one is from a cop movie. I was so fascinated by nucleo antirapina because it's like nuclear antipasta. What is that? What does that
Yeah.
mean? No, anti-robbery unit.
Wow, the way that this movie is drawing on cop films, romance, spy, and horror. Did the horror come because it was picked up by Shudder? But no, they didn't do any reshoots for when it was picked up. So that isn't the case. But it being on Shudder is like a really I don't know.
Yeah,
It just came
we
to
were
mind.
surprised to find it there, but it is grotesque and unsettling enough that it makes sense. And yes, the music heavily lifts from horror.
I did bury the lead because I had to save the best piece for last. But the what essentially is the theme song of this film is "I Want It All" by Bruno Nicolai featuring Laura St. Paul. I love this piece. It is bombastic. And it's like this wonderful blend of sad and hopeful in these beautiful lyrics sung by Laura St. Paul. That's a banger that I will have on my personal playlist until the end of time.
I will also say, because I mentioned that there's mainly a Marconi track, La Luchatola, dreamy, feminine swirl of a song, soft trumpets, sinister strings, and a theremin. I'm sure I heard a theremin in there. And it's very Morricone of the movie's era. Beautiful track. Yeah, these I'm gonna have to put some of these in my regular rotation for sure.
Theremin just featured so prominently in the most recent episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. And I mean, the year of the theremin, I guess.
But it's not a theremin in the Star Trek theme, right? It's something else.
In the earliest version of the Star Trek theme, there is a theremin.
Okay. And it's
And in the
replaced
stra-
by diff.
that features in Strange New Worlds.
Okay. All right. That's your complete guide to.
Thank you. But speaking of fashion,
A thing that really stuck out to me about the fashion of this movie is that it is in the present timeline, it's the 70s. And in the previous timeline from 20 to 30 years ago, it is
it's
also the
also the
70s.
70s. I love
And
that.
I understand that. That's how time works. Is it's always still the time you think it is now and has always been.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's all very 70s, a bit through the lens of now. Like I couldn't tell you when this movie was supposed to be set, either in the present scenes or the flashback scenes. And
Yeah.
that's another layer to this film that kind of keeps you unmoored and on the edge is its lack of sense of time and place, but I love that about it. So many rings in this film, and each one better than the last.
I don't know. I think it peaked with the eyeball ring for me.
Ooh, okay.
I loved that. It was so sinister. Literally an eyeball on a ring. Well, not literally eyeball, figuratively, ornately, ornamentally an eyeball on a ring that you could hold up to your face to see through walls. And I would love to have one of those. It doesn't go with anything I own, but it was such a beautiful piece. But tell me, what are the other rings that stood out to you?
I mean, I love the serpentine poison ring. Like,
Yeah,
it's literally two serpents and then a spike on one end that Serpentic uses to poison all of the men that she kisses, which is the most fabulous way to kill a man. And the way that it's used is uncomfortable, but I love that diamond pointy knife ring. It's a cool like gadget ring in
Yeah.
its simplicity and its effectiveness and its beauty. And honestly, like one of my goals in life is to own some kind of diamond jewelry, and that might be it.
That you can slap people across the face and tear their face open?
Yeah. What's
Great.
wrong with that? I learned all the right lessons from this movie, I'm sure.
Boy, I'm glad we record this remotely.
Let me show you some pieces I love to talk about. The chanteuse, no, that's not her name.
Let
The
me
opera
scroll back up.
singer, cantatrice. Her blue toga with extra flowy sleeves and elaborate wig and ornate headpiece was absolutely brilliant. Very beautiful. I love that powder seafoam blue color. It felt very like elevated drag queen.
I think where the film is let down a little bit, the men's outfits are not particularly interesting. The tailoring didn't stand out to me. Like perfectly nice suits that they're wearing, and of course, older John wears a very nice white suit that, as I mentioned, he can transform. It flips inside out into a black suit, including the hat, which is impossible because the lining of the hat would be one
Was
color.
the same color. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it doesn't make sense. But it's such a good moment. But yeah, that like I feel like the budget showed a little bit in some of the costuming for both the male characters and the background characters, where it looked like they were wearing 70s inspired off the rack clothing, rather than the sort of
Mm.
beautiful tailoring that you would get from real period pieces.
Yeah, I agree. The men's suits just did not do it. And yeah, I mean that's part of what I was saying about like how unmoored in time this is because while it's yes, 70s inspired, nothing is actually from the 70s. Like where are my bell-bottom pants on men? Where are the gigantic collars on ridiculously ornate dress shirts? None of that was there. It was all very, yeah, a little too modern. But yes, huge shout out to Old John's black and white piece. That was the niftiest piece of men's clothing in this film. But the actual niftiest piece of clothing in this film has to go to the silver disc dress with red ruby activator.
Yes, a very Paco Rabanne inspired sort of chain link kind of dress. Just it's all little discs suspended from other little discs, but it is a weapon, it is a communication device, it is a
Hmm.
camera.
Hmm.
I feel like it probably did other things as well. I don't know. I feel like it could have done a thousand things if only we'd had it in the movie longer. But it's so the scene where she uses it as a weapon by literally ejecting all of the discs from her body in a wide circle was a moment we almost stood up and cheered. Like it was so satisfying.
So cool, really groovy. Absolutely. The best part of this film, I thought.
Yeah,
And a lot of cat suits,
a
black
lot.
leather cat suits, but with like the eye cutout, which was directly lifted from Danger Diabolic, which
Yes.
I thought was the most wonderful nod you could make to that film.
Yeah, yeah. Like it literally, Serpentic dresses as diabolic because Serpentic kind of is diabolic. That's the foundation of the character, shall we say?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful leather bodysuit. They must have had thousands of them. That's where the budget went in this movie.
Yep. uh Now we have to talk about something that felt both missing and yet present through the entire film. The queerness.
Yes, we are of one mind on this, I think, because we didn't discuss, like, we talked about this movie a little bit after we watched it. We watched it together, but we didn't talk about the queerness of the movie. It didn't come up in conversation. And it's a testament to how entertaining and distracting this film is that I didn't really notice that there is no textual queerness in a film that
Mm,
feels like it should be queer. And is maybe like it vibes with queerness. Like female power always feels queer.
that's it.
It's countercultural. It's obsessed with beauty. But were any of the characters queer? Like even like a bellhop? I don't think so. None of the
No,
women
no.
were queer.
Well, they were all. It was all the same woman.
Well, true. But
So I
every
mean,
woman
like,
includes lesbians.
well, that's right. It felt both inherently anti-queer due to the nature of these kinds of men that we're talking about. We
Yes.
like
Yeah.
we are not allowed in their spaces. We are the enemy.
Yes.
And there was such a focus on female strength that it made me forget that. Like I felt welcomed into this masculine space. I felt protected.
Yeah.
I felt strong in this space. And so, yeah, I'm left much like this movie, not really knowing where I am, where I stand,
Yeah.
what what is for me, but I can tell you that this was for me.
The fact that the movie sits in judgment on men is maybe the thing that resonates. Like, it's not showing you these male protected spaces and saying this is good. It's showing you that these men have all allowed themselves to become horrors because of the world that they've built around them. And but is that queer or is it just good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning toward it's just good, but there's just something a little queer about Italian cinema. I don't know. It's so hard to pinpoint like what it is. Maybe it's like it's the point of view on fashion. Maybe
Mm,
it's the point of view on women. Maybe it's that like everybody is shown in like its grotesque glory. There is full frontal male nudity in this film, which does get a little point, and it is very, but yeah, God, do I wish that it had been more explicit? I don't know. Would it have felt forced? Yes,
right.
because I don't think that was the message that this film was trying to impart. But could it easily have fit in like some sapphic love? Yeah, like there was totally a space for that. I just don't know how necessary it is. I don't even know what I'm fighting for now.
Well, that's it. Like, honestly, they could have had like a gay character who was a stereotype. Like, that would be very of the time to have a sort of lisping, limp-wristed character, like as a hench person or as the hotel concierge. Someone who is, sibilant and we all
Mhm.
know is gay, even if they don't do anything gay. But like, it could have been a choice to not do that. Like it is a choice to not do that and to say, well, we'll perpetuate that. But at the same time, like there was that part of me that missed it. It was like, oh, we don't even exist in the hotel stars
Right?
since
Like, it's
when?
the I mean, look at Modesty Plays as, like, the be all end all of having, like, queer representation in the worst and best way at the same time.
Right. Dirk
And if
Bogart
this
from Death
movie
in Venice.
is yes, like, if this movie is taking from those films, that's, I think, this disconnect that I'm having is that we are
Yeah.
always represented in these spaces, and yet for some
Yes.
reason here we weren't, and that makes
Yeah.
it much more straight than feels comfortable. But at the same time, I loved this experience, and it resonated so much to those things that maybe my me being the viewer is the queerness that this movie needed.
Yeah. And okay, in our rating system, we choose these five areas that we have discussed as emblematic of a gay cinematic read. Uh, that is part of what we do. It's not just about whether there is queerness on screen, but also it is the attitude to fashion, to women, to
Mhm.
attractive men, and shall we say, music. Just to pick five things out of the ether. We have chosen those as the categories to represent not just queerness, but specifically our gay reading of cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's get to it. Like, I want to know how queer this film actually is. But we're going to start, as we always do, with our base score. From 1 to 5, I suppose we could give a 0. Have we ever talked about
We
that? Has
can
any
give a
movie ever
zero.
gotten
We
a 0?
No, but we felt that it should have, and that's why we introduced this as a possibility.
Right, okay. We will one day get to that film. So base score 0 to 5, and then bonus points for the categories we just talked about: women, boys, music, fashion, queerness. Total of 10, possible penalty of -1. Andrew, what are you giving this film?
It's getting a 4 from me. It's so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. It's not a perfect film at all. It is
Mhm.
so hard to know what's going on, but is it a film that I will want to watch again and that I will want to introduce friends to? Yes. So it can't go lower than a 4.
I 100% in agreement. It's a 4. I think the things that detract from it are maybe a budget. There's a lot of scenes in black boxes that add to mood, weren't necessarily meant to be in a black
Right.
box. Uh, and also, I couldn't describe this movie for the life of me, and that might detract from me being able to persuade other people to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of just have to like give them pizza and say, sit down, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Are the women going to get a point from you?
Serpentic gets the point. Papillon gets the point. Like those two women are so phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they are the heart of the movie. They are the soul of the movie. They're the fist of the movie. So yeah, it gets the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And even every side character that is a female has such a strong point of view. Like I love that his neighbor is detested with him and
Yeah.
is like tell the hotels or she tells the hotel staff, keep that guy away from me. He's a creep. We didn't talk about it then, but that's a bonus point in my book. What about the boys? Do the boys get a point?
The only person I will be following on Instagram from this is New John. So on that basis, I can't give it the point.
Yeah, I'm also going to have to say no, and I think that's what the movie wants us to.
Yeah. It's not for our eyes. It's, yeah, get out of here with that
Yeah.
gay stuff.
Speaking of gay stuff, how about the music in this film?
It gets a music point. So good.
Oh yeah, that the theme song I Want It All alone would have had done it for me, but Ennio Morricone, come on.
You love a theme song?
And then and the fashion. I mean, problems with the male fashion aside, this is a fashionable film.
Yes.
And again, this is a film about women, and women's fashion is top notch here. I'm gonna give it.
The jewelry is worth the point almost, you know? It's, yeah.
It's all about the jewelry. And here we go. The queerness. I don't know, Andrew. I just don't know. I'm the kind of person who likes to be very explicit with my
You do.
queerness in films in order to give it the point. But
The
this is such an
essential,
esoteric film.
yeah. The essential divide between us has always been that you need it in the text and I need it in the sort of creation of the movie
Mm,
more. Like I need to know that there's a sensibility at work. And yet it can't give this the queer point. Even by my own standards, didn't it just didn't get there for me. And it tricked me into thinking that it was there, but it never got there.
that's it. Really, I think it's based on my past experiences with films in the same vein that made
Yeah.
me feel like this was a queer film. Yeah, having talked it out, I can't give this film the queerness point. It's just not there, and it's actually uh, stark, starkingly no, it's starkly missed.
Yeah. So apparently we are fully aligned on our scores. Is there a
Yeah,
penalty here? What do you think?
I mean, this elevates people of color into like real roles.
Yeah.
Women are the focal point of the story. Misogyny is a bad thing. That's what I
Yes.
took from this film. So no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be giving it a
Yeah.
penalty.
No, I don't think. I think, yeah, when misogyny is so front and center in a movie, it's tempting to go like, ah, but no, it's bad. They're saying it's bad. You
Yeah.
know, it is slightly fetishized by the movie. It's very fetishized by the movie,
Ye
but still, the point is to say this is vile and to discomfort you. So yeah,
Mhm.
so that's 7 out of 10.
7. 7 out of 10. I mean, that's a pretty great score.
Yeah,
But also, as we've done many times before, caveat, go watch this film. It's so
yeah.
fucking cool. It's so different. It's unlike anything I've seen in a long, long time. And I
Except
mean
Danger
in the
Diabolique.
sense that like except maybe Danger Diabolique. And we call it Danger Diabolique. And that is not
Wow, I
the way
do.
that
That
we're
is
supposed
not.
to say that,
You've been
but that
very
is
good
how
about saying diabolic all the way through this, and then I fucked it up right at the end.
well, but that's the real title of the film.
Yeah,
Yeah, this movie's so weird and it doesn't make sense. And I mean, God, wait until you get to the end, and you're gonna have more questions than you have answers. But wow, wow, what a film!
yeah. It's it's a special one. It's also insane.
Yeah, and so if you want more insanity in your lives, then I would recommend clicking like and maybe subscribing to this channel and telling your friends about it. That really helps. But as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, kiss, kiss. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.